Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about some more advanced harmonic concepts, and we're going to do it in a very practical way, meaning I'm going to play a piece, and then we're going to discuss its harmonic intricacies and why I've chosen particular chords over others and voicings and so forth. So let's start with the actual piece. All right. So what you've just heard is made up of a progression of chords, and there's kind of a main sort of playing pattern, which is so you can see that what I'm doing with my hands is when I play it slowly, so I'm kind of emulating guitar strumming with this pattern. And most of the chords are played around this particular basic pattern. Now in the introduction, I have a descending bass line. So I'm playing see my bass goes from B flat to A flat to G, and then depending on the repetition, there are 3 repetitions of this, I either get a G flat or an E flat minor 7, or in the last repetition, the 3rd one, I get 2 chords which are C minor 7 flat 5 followed by an E flat over a bass of F. So an E flat, the C minor 7 flat 5 is kind of a substitution for the C minor 7. And then the E flat over the F is a substitution for just an F. And this is really just a 2-5 progression, the C minor going to an F major. Let's take a look next at the, maybe, there's no really, it's not a formal structure, so there's no verse, chorus, etc. So let's look at the first part of the song, which goes like this. So notice how my right hand stays the same and I let the bass do the harmonic work, meaning I basically play an F and a B flat and I move the bass around. And maybe in the last chord I take the B flat to an A. So this is an interesting concept, letting the bass define the most or some of the harmony of your chord. So it's really an integral part of your chord voicing. Don't only think about your right hand when playing chords. This is why also when playing in a band, it's very, very important to be synchronized with the bass player. So it might be in a band and you might just be playing as a piano player or keyboard player, just the right hand. And the bass player will be playing and together you'd be defining the chords and harmony, and each of you alone would not be sufficient. So it's very important to have a good dialogue with your bass player. Now after you repeat this twice, and you repeat it again, there are two repeated sections in which you have an ascending train of chords. And the first one goes like this. The second one is this. You can go back to the actual piece and see the chords and notes that these ascending chord trains have. What I've tried to do here is really just build this piece up to give you an idea of two ways to approach a problem. I mean, there's no problem really, but two ways of building an ascending chord train. And they're similar, but they have a lot of differences between them. So in the first one, for example, I have a B, and then it goes to a B augmented, but this B augmented is on a bass of C. Then the B augmented would get resolved to an E flat, but my bass only climbs up to a D flat. The E flat would get resolved to a C maybe, then my bass only climbs up to a D. So sort of the bass is one step behind the chords, and this works very well. It gives it a very interesting harmonic tension that gets resolved in the, I think, the last two chords. So an E minor going to an E flat over an F, which is really like an F. So every time you see an E flat over an F, it's like a 4 over a bass of 5, which is really just the 5 chord, which is an F in the B flat scale. So all of this song is in B flat major. In the second repetition of the ascending chord train, well, we have so here I have a B flat going to a C minor 7, going to a D flat diminished 7, to a B flat over a bass of C. And I could do the same ending as before. So an E flat minor to an E flat over bass of F, back to an F, back to a B flat major. But I chose to kind of elongate it. So what I did is, from the B flat over the bass of D, I wanted to get to G minor, which I did with two passing chords, which can be thought of as E minor flat 5 to a D, maybe to a G flat augmented, and this is an inversion, to a G minor, and then to sort of delay. So what I do here, I might go to an E minor, sorry, to an E flat minor, and then I could somehow go back to a B flat. But what I did is I delayed the B flat by adding a B flat minor to an E flat over F, and then only to a B flat. Now you should notice that in all of my chord voicings in this song, at least in the first half, I've gone to great lengths to keep the uppermost note as B flat. And we discussed this in a previous lesson about what I called top pedal notes, or so you should find a link in the description of the video. But the point is that you see all of these chords have the same uppermost note, and this is not by coincidence. I've built these, I've even chosen the chords sometimes, just staying on this B flat. This actually inspired some of these voicings and chord choices. And this also keeps the voicings very cohesive. So you see, it kind of forces them to change very smoothly. So this is another recurring theme, at least in my personal chord voicing choices, is trying to really see if I can find passages or groups of chords that have a joint uppermost note. Then there's kind of a bridge, which goes so you see that this is really made out of, so actually this all started, this bridge, from, I saw a nice chord voicing for 7th chords. So I have here a G flat dominant 7th, and what this voicing does is it first of all throws away the 5th, which is usually the least important note, and then it takes this 3rd, which is the B flat, and brings it up an octave. So I find this to be an interesting kind of open voicing for a dominant 7th chord. And after this resolves to the 5th, and then to the 1st. The second variation, or the second half of this is, and there's a little bit of dissonance there. This is an E flat minor 7, but I'm really only playing the root, the 5th and the 7th, so there's some ambiguity. Actually, it could equally be an E flat dominant 7th. But then I also added some harmonies with backing voices in the track that actually accentuate this minor degree, but it's not evident from the piano playing part, which also resolves to the 5th, to the 1st. So this is a 4, 5, 1. The second half, or the last part of the song, kind of goes wild all over the place. It has these kind of ascending chords. In case you don't see my finger outside the camera's range, I'm really just playing octaves with my left hand. So I'm playing a D here and also a D with the fifth finger. So what I'm doing here is really I'm just climbing up. So I have B flat over a bass of D, going to an E flat. So this is a 1 to 4, 2 to 5, a C to an F, 3 to 6, so this is a D, to a G minor. So it's kind of like a 2-5 progression really, going repeated while climbing up. So it's kind of like a 2-5, 2-5, 2-5 in different scales. But if you think about it in the B flat scale, you're just playing 1 to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6. And then back to the dominant one. This is a B flat dominant 7. And then it's really, I just played around and tried to find a smooth chord voicing that would take me back to the 1. And you can, sometimes when you run into these chords, you can just kind of check, say, if you're given this chord, and you can say, okay, I'm just going to take these guys half steps. You see? So sometimes these kind of half steps, or maybe you'll put in a whole step in there, give you an interesting chord progression. And you just play around. That's what I did, to be honest. And I got this interesting progression. Then after I do this, I do it again. This is again a 1 to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6. So it's interesting here. I'm doing, look at what I'm doing in the right hand. B flat to E flat, C to F, D to G minor. But in the left hand, I'm using an interesting bass, selection of bass notes. I'm going from the, I'm actually using the left to accentuate the dominant 7th character. This is a B flat dominant 7. So this is a B flat dominant 7, and I'm playing the 7th with my bass. Why? Because I like this. And then I do it 2 semitones up, and then another 2 semitones up. I actually like this particular progression, mini progression a lot. I use it a lot, so you know I can do an F to a B flat, an A to a D. I really get a lot of mileage out of this. I don't know if you like it, but it's interesting, at least to me. You might want to try and incorporate it into your own playing. After I finish this 1 to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6, I'm just climbing up. And then I'm back to the same riff I started with. So that's it. We didn't go into too many details because, well, this is more of an intermediate advanced lesson. I hope you picked up some interesting ideas. My best advice to you is to simply listen to the track And if there's a particular progression that you like or voicing, just copy it. Just as simple as that. This is the way we all learn. There's nothing immoral about this. And if you like it, then you start playing it, you start transposing it to other keys, it becomes sort of embedded in you, and then it suddenly starts popping up in your own playing or your own songwriting or reharmonization or whatever. That's it for this lesson, and I'll see you next time.